Okay, calling to order today's City Council meeting for the City of Palos Verdes Estates here at 6:30 p.m. Please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember McGowan, absent. Councilmember Kemps.
Here.
Councilmember Roos.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lozey, absent. Mayor Murdoch.
Here.
Mayor Murdoch, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on, approval of the agenda. We've got 13 items on today's agenda. Are there any adjustments, or can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Made motion by Kemps, second by Bruce.
I was an aye vote on that too, by the way, because I missed the vote.
Do you want aye now?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right. Mayor's report. At our last meeting on September the 10th, I had made a motion to move an item to the consent agenda. That item was acceptance of a donation of $466,000 from the PVE Foundation for implementation of ALPR cameras. Because we did not discuss the item because it was on consent, I did not get an opportunity to thank the foundation and the residents and all those involved for their donations and hard work to make this effort possible. So I'm going to do that now. Thank you to everyone involved for your generosity, for your love of our city, and for this effort which will help keep our city even safer. Save the dates. The city has set up its holiday event calendar. The tree lighting event will be Sunday, December 1st, and the Santa Parade will be Sunday, December 15th. A schedule of the times that the route will be hitting different parts of the city will be published in the next month or so. I like to always remind our seniors about the Peninsula Seniors Bohannon Lecture Series. They're on Wednesdays from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. up the hill. They've got a couple of interesting things that are coming up this month, well, in October. You can go to their website and find out all the details of the 5 meetings that they're having, but to highlight, on the 16th, they're going to talk about AI in action, artificial intelligence. On the 23rd, there's going to be an update from the RPV city manager on what's going on in that city. And then October 30th, All Hallows Eve, there'll be a lecture to celebrate evil. So, not to miss. Also at last meeting, I talked about how since Proposition 13, the city has relied on a parcel tax or a special assessment to supply roughly 25% of the city's revenue. Did you know that in addition to parcel taxes, the city has relied on special taxes to fund capital improvements? In 1983, the city enacted a 10% utility tax that continued through 2002, a 20-year period, to finance capital improvements. In 1983, it raised $1.2 million, which was almost as much as the parcel tax in effect at that time, which brought in $1.5 million, just to give you a sense of the order of magnitude and the importance to the city budget. This tax was replaced in 2003 with a 10-year special sewer tax, which lasted for 10 years in 2013, and there have been no dedicated funding sources since then, which is now more than 10 years. When the city doesn't have these dedicated revenue sources, funding for capital improvement projects can be put at risk. Council, 2 years ago, passed an operating surplus policy that would allocate 30% of surpluses to capital improvements. And while council earmarked money in the past couple of years for these, this only works when we have an operating surplus. And this year we do not have an operating surplus. We need a reliable funding source separate from operating budget surpluses to maintain our critical city infrastructure. So that's just a little bit of history around how the city operated 40 plus years ago. That's it for me. City Manager, you have a report?
Okay, thank you. First, I want to announce what's going on with our technology tonight. About a week ago, we discovered that Granicus, which is the system that we use to live stream our meetings and host them on our website, it live streams them and it also archives them for viewing after, was experiencing some challenges and some difficulties. We have been trying to connect with the right people at Granicus and have not had any success. This morning, we developed what we thought was going to be a workaround, and we were planning, and we did send a message out to the community that if Granicus didn't work, which it isn't, we would then be streaming it live on YouTube. Well, upon trying to log into that went down. So not to bring any PTSD flashbacks to anybody, we went to the pandemic way of broadcasting council meetings, and we're on Zoom. We put this together in the last 7 minutes. There is a laptop here in the council chambers. You residents may not even be hearing this, but if they are, then you figured out that we sent out a message with the Zoom link. But I want to assure the council, anyone that's listening, that we are recording on both Zoom and with our cameras in this council chambers. And as soon as we figure out how to post that for viewing, we will do that and send a message out to the public.
Well, I would like to thank you and staff for your creative thinking on your feet to make this service available to our residents.
Thank you. Two other pieces I want to share. Hopefully stealing this from Chief Halinga, making him scramble. About a week ago, Chief Halinga and I attended the Peninsula Real Estate Agents Group meeting. It was a breakfast meeting. First time for me to attend something like this. It was really a great meeting. Chief Halinga and the Captain Guerrero from the Lomita Sheriff's Station both spoke. Sort of the theme was personal safety for real estate agents. I promised I wouldn't talk, and of course, then I broke that promise and had to get up there and talk. But it was really interesting. A couple of things I talked about. Number one, real estate agents were making a comment that, they're out driving the cities, the communities a lot. And we see things. And we see things that look off because we know the neighborhoods. And I said, yeah, don't hesitate to call the police or sheriff. I deputized them as our real estate neighborhood watch or something like that. But I think that goes for all residents. If you see something to say something, Chief Halinga has lots and lots of stories of when a resident calls in with a tip, there's an action, and an arrest often happens about that. So that was really interesting to sort of share with them. The other thing we talked about a little bit, and it was really neat to see, is the alignment between Palos Verdes Police and the LA County Sheriff's Department, specifically the Lomita Station. And because you have the 3 cities on the hill and us, and they were just talking about regional efforts and how they coordinate and how their captain and Chief Halinga speak, and something was going down in another city, we immediately call them, offer assistance, and vice versa. So it always amazes me when you take time to share this with an organized group, what they do not know about this, the way this all works, so it's always a great opportunity. On that subject, without using any names or specifics, we had a resident that has been going through the process of building a home here, and had many frustration points along the way. Reached out to me late last week, asked for a meeting. I know nothing about how he got to where he's at, and I don't necessarily understand, the different phases of construction here. So we gathered our team. Cheryl was part of it, and a couple other staff members. We guessed at what his problem was. We guessed right. We brought him in for a meeting. He brought him and his general contractor and sat down. He started off very upset. We established some ground rules. Bottom line is we found a equitable solution that saved him a lot of money and was within our authority. We didn't go over top at all. And I believe that homeowner walked away happy, or new homeowner walked away happy. Got him closer to getting into his home. The point of that little story is all residents are encouraged to call City Hall. And if we don't respond, or you reach out to me and I don't respond, then that's on us. But we can't guess what's going on out there. So if there's something going on that's frustrating you as a resident, and maybe I'll repeat this when we got our we get our technology up and running, please call City Hall. You know, staff makes it an effort. I make it a priority to make sure we call, learn what the problem is, and try to offer solutions. Today was a success story, so I wanted to share that with anybody who's out there, but I want to encourage everyone to call and ask us questions. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Hopefully I stole all of his thunder.
Chief?
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, it's a good segue into one of the items I want to talk about, which is we talk a lot about burglary prevention. We put something out, I think, a month ago or so. Instead of focusing on what residents could do to protect themselves, we explained what the crooks want them, or what the crooks are looking for, right? So what crooks want is to break into a house with nobody home. And in the fall, which I think the first day of fall was Sunday, so in the fall, it starts getting dark early, and it's much easier for criminals to know who is home and who is not simply by driving by a house and looking to see if lights are on inside of the house. If it's 6:30 p.m. and there's no lights on in the house, that's a very good indication that nobody's home, because most likely nobody is sleeping at 6:30 p.m. So we really encourage residents in the fall to work on securing their houses and making it look like somebody is home. Using interior lights is a huge deterrent, especially in the city without street lights. Historically, we do see an increase in residential burglaries in the fall, so we want to get ahead of that curve and make sure our residents are protecting themselves. And my next update has to do with October. The department and the Palos Verdes Police Officers Association will be participating in this year's Pink Patch project campaign to raise awareness for breast cancer treatment, research, and education through the sale of commemorative pink patches. During October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, our police officer and service officers employees will have the option of swapping out the traditional department shoulder patches for pink shoulder patches to be worn on their uniforms. This is intended to stimulate conversations with the community during our daily contacts and to encourage discussion with the public about the fight against breast cancer. This year, proceeds will be donated to Inglewood Police Homicide Detective Jackie Sipake, who is currently battling breast cancer. I want to make it clear, the Palos Verdes Police Officers Association is financially sponsoring this. There's no city funds that are involved or will be used. If you would like to make a donation towards this, you can contact the Palos Verdes POA via email at palosverdespoa@outlook.com. The patches are $10 each, and they will be available in the lobby. The POA has agreed to match the funds generated up to $500. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to communications from the public. All items under this heading are considered to be, nope, that's not the right one. I got ahead of myself. Anyway, the gist of this is for items that are not on today's agenda, and the council is not able to act on it because it has not been agendized, anything that you bring up. But if warranted, council can follow up or ask staff to follow up. Starting with John Credell, please.
Good evening. Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and residents. My name is John Credell, Palos Verdes Estates Neighborhood Watch, Area Coordinator for Lenata Bay South. Our weekly e-blast. If you're not getting our weekly e-blast, please make sure you sign up on our website. It includes crime safety tips, disaster preparedness information, and updates on events related to PVE Neighborhood Watch. Our e-blast is a good way to keep up to date on trends with scams and other crimes while getting tips on how best to protect your home, family, and data. Our website has many resources on how to make your home, property, and data safe. We are updating the content all the time, and there are tips for crime safety, emergency preparedness, and dates of our PVE Neighborhood Watch events. Please visit our website at www.pvenw.org. Please become a volunteer. Palos Verdes Estates Neighborhood Watch has served our community for over 40 years. Volunteers who are interested in crime prevention make up our team of board members and block captains. As we get ready for the holidays, we are looking for volunteers to help with our fun events in November and December. We'd like to support our local students who are looking for volunteer service hours. If you want to know more about being involved, Please sign up for our newsletter. Email us at pvenwboard@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Brook.
Yes, Jerry Brook, 812 Via Samante. And my wife and I have lived at that address since 1976. I'm here tonight to comment about the total incompetence of Frontier Communications. As a result, we have been without internet for 2 months. We have Earthlink, but they feed off of the Frontier line. My wife has made several calls to Frontier, as I have also. When you finally get someone on the line, you get a variety of deflections and outright lies. They transfer you to someone else, then you get a dead line, or the agent simply hangs up on you. Early on, someone from Frontier knocked on the door, and he did not speak a word of English. Shoves an iPhone at me with someone on the other end you could hardly make out. Last Thursday, they finally showed up and laid a line from the box that feeds us. I was told the final hookup would happen in a couple days. They now send texts asking you to choose a day next weekend, but then reply that day is not available. You then respond and they repeat the same text as if you have never responded. I'm saying to the city council, you need to give me a city staff employee to assist me in resolving this. This appointment needs to happen by tomorrow. Considering the city of PVE is totally responsible for Frontier being the only telephone company in the city, you need to assist me in resolving this. You obviously have more clout in dealing with them rather than me, an insignificant customer.
Don't leave.
Wait your response.
I'm going to do one better than that. I'm going to give you
sorry?
I'm going to do you one better than that. I'm going to give you a council member instead of a staff person.
Who's in the technology business, so we can double down. So first of all, 2 things. One, we have 2 providers in town, Frontier and Cox. Both provide, and they're equally loved, by the way. Both provide data and voice, meaning internet and voice access. So there shockingly is competition, despite how wonderful or not it is. When Frontier came and announced to us how wonderful it was going to be, this is for Kerry, and I'm going to read it out loud because he gave me permission at the time. When Frontier came, a gentleman by the name of Sean Murphy, I don't know if he's still employed there, but he came to the council and talked about how wonderful it was going to be, and that, Fios fiber was going to be incredible, and they were going to blow Cox away, and it was going to be wonderful. And he said that, and I asked for public permission to read his number at the time, and I keep it in my phone just in case. So in terms of coordination with you, I'm going to read you the number in case you want to call him directly. Staff, if you want to take this and assist, you're more than welcome. His name is Sean Murphy. The number that he gave us at the time was 909-217-0116.
Could you?
He was a, I'll read it again if you want. He was a high-level vice president and sold us
Repeat that
up or down a river. Sure. 909-217-0116.
Again, is he going to be someone that responds immediately, or is it going to be a, yeah, you shrug your hands?
I'm more than, I shrug my hands because I'm used to lack of action from telecom companies, and I don't say that to.
Well, how about someone from the city staff to assist me? We've been having to deal with this for 2 months without internet. And, what's the purpose of the city council? You can't give me a name of a staff member that will take care of this and assist me no later than tomorrow. This has gone on way too long.
Mr. Brook, I'm Kerry Coleman. I'm the city manager. When you conclude, I'm going to come over and get your phone number and call I'll call you tomorrow, I'll call Sean Murphy, and we'll see what we can get done, okay?
Can I be assured of that?
I can assure you I'll call you tomorrow. I can't assure we're going to get anything done. It's a longer conversation, but, and Councilmember Kemps could probably handle this more eloquently. We don't have a lot of control. I know you're frustrated. We don't control who comes in. I promise you these guys would want better service for you. I promise you. So I will call you first thing tomorrow.
I don't have my number on.
I'm gonna when we're done, so you don't have to read it out loud, not that anyone can hear us, and walk over and get your phone number.
Okay.
And then I'll give you a call in the morning.
Okay,
Okay?
I hope so.
I'll extend one more offer.
With nothing but getting shined on and lied to.
I'll extend one more offer because I'm not one that shines anybody on or lies to them. I actually live right below you on Via Del Monte. So if you need help interfacing, if they're going to come and you want someone that's technically knowledgeable there, I will gladly show up.
Okay, thank you.
I'll come right to you.
Any other communications from the public on matters not on today's agenda? Moving on, next we have consent agenda. There are 11 items on this. Number 1, approval of warrants. Number 2, city treasurer's investment policy. No, I'm sorry. City treasurer's June quarterly investment report. 3, city council meeting actions. 4, planning commission meeting actions. 5, traffic safety committee meeting actions. 6, adoption and second reading of ZTA 002-24 regarding zoning text amendment to clarify new structure versus remodel. 7, approval of the Good Neighbor Pledge. 8, conflict of interest code, biennial notice and amendment. 9, adopting a resolution to approve the plans and specifications for the 2024 annual street improvement project, PW 701-23. 10, transfer agreement between the LA County Flood Control District and PV Estates Safe Clean Water Program. And 11, special event application for a Diwali Lanada Bay's Festival of Lights on November 2nd at Lanada Bay Park. Is there anything anybody wants to pull?
Number 7, please.
Okay, we'll pull number 7.
This
No.
thing.
Did you want to pull something?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll pull number 7. So then, is there any public comment on items 1 through 6 or 8 through 11? Nobody filled out a card? I don't see anybody raising their hand. Okay, so I'll bring it back to council. Oh, sir? Okay. Which item is this for?
The traffic and safety.
Okay. Okay, Whitley?
Yeah, Whitley, 3640 Navajo Place. We are asking to make Navajo Place one-sided parking. It is now about 21 feet wide. An average car is 6 to 7 feet. We've had multiple instances of ambulance and emergency vehicles that have not been able to get through in the last year. We have a petition that's been signed by every single neighbor on the street in favor of this, so I'd like to put it towards the council to approve.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'll bring it back to council. Do I have a motion on items 1 through 8 and, no, 1 through 6 and 8 through 11?
I move to approve.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Moved by Ruth, seconded by Kemps. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's discuss item number 7, the Good Neighbor Pledge.
Do we want a summary staff report, or do we want to go straight to discussing it?
I
I can give a brief report if you like, or do you want to?
Maybe for the benefit of the public listening, tell us what it is, and
Okay.
unless you want us to do that.
Okay. Good. Thanks for raising your hand. Can I defer this to a representative from our Council of Governments to talk about the pledge, or do you want to hear from me first? how we got here?
I'd rather do that as, if they want to do public comment for
Okay.
3 minutes.
All right. So following the recent Supreme Court decision, the grants pass decision regarding homelessness, and effectively, and be prepared if we need to, City Attorney, to talk about the specifics of that. The Council of Governments, which the council knows, and those in the audience, this is a regional group made up of the 4 cities on the Hill, Inglewood, the beach cities, Torrance. When we work on regional issues, homelessness, transportation, other items, I put together this pledge, and essentially what the pledge is saying is that in spite of how the law changed and the ability to effectively make camping illegal, correct? The cities, as the members of these COG, of the Council of Governments, are pledging to do their best to provide services for homelessness, support homelessness, not just necessarily criminalize it. I think the intent of the Council of Governments was to collectively make this pledge. The challenge is, when this went to the Council of Governments Board, which a representative of each city sits on, they rightfully so said, we're not comfortable adopting this as the Council of Governments unless we hear from all of the cities that are member cities of the Council of Governments. So this first came to the city managers back in, I believe, July. Will you take this to your councils to consider? And timing-wise, summer recesses for many of the cities, including ours, it just wasn't feasible to get it on any of our agendas in July. So here we are in September. The COG is still making this request. There are, as of the printing of this, I think there's nine member cities that have done this. There's several, or maybe there's 5 member cities, and there's still some that haven't taken the pledge. Essentially asking the council, will you support this, and will you support the Council of Governments to put this out as all these cities support the pledge?
Thank you.
If you have questions, a member from the COG staff is here.
Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to move it to public comment and then, okay. Any public comment on this?
Yes. Do I need to
No, but you can go ahead and just go to the microphone.
Thank you, Mayor and honorable council members. Ronson Chu from the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. I work on homeless services and senior services for the South Bay area. And that was a great synopsis of what the pledge is. We were hearing from constituents when the grant pass ruling happened, concerns that we would go back to the days where homeless individuals were being dropped off in Skid Row and moved around and shuffled around and not really resolving their issues. Here in the South Bay, we pride ourselves in that we do address homelessness straight on. We offer services, shelter, a variety of interventions to get people off the streets. Now, just cutting to the chase, how it affects Palos Verdes Estates, in the homeless counts that happen every year in the peninsula, the homeless count varies from 0 to 4. So we can safely say there's not really a homelessness crisis in the peninsula. And what we want to do is keep it that way. We don't want cities like Long Beach or any neighboring cities doing encampment cleanups and then effectively moving people out of their cities into other cities. And so that's what the purpose of the pledge is, to recommit to offering services and shelter and not just shuffling people from street to street. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's bring it back to council for discussion.
So I will, it's a very complicated subject, and one that is very important right now in LA County. I will say, I think that the efforts of a lot of the member cities of the COG to provide temporary housing and even permanent housing for homeless individuals, those are laudable things. But I'm also personally of the opinion that homelessness in general is a large regional problem and not one that can be solved by cities as small as ours. There are, and frankly, there are cities that are inland that probably have higher homeless counts that are also not well situated to solve those problems. And I think in a perfect world, it would really be the county government that would be putting in the effort to build facilities and make those available to municipalities as a tool. One of the things here in the pledge is we commit to making it easier for people sleeping on the streets to access local resources, and we commit to appropriate personnel who will be fully aware of the resources available in our city. I mean, the trouble with our making that pledge is that there are no resources in our city. And it's certainly not because the people of Palos Verdes Estates don't care about people who are suffering from homelessness, but it's because it's probably not an appropriate use of taxpayers' dollars to make those resources available right here in Palos Verdes Estates. And I think that that's probably true of a lot of the cities in the South Bay. Most of the pledge, I think, is actually perfectly appropriate, and I'd be ready to sign on to it. But I think it's, I don't have quite the same visceral reaction to the decision in Johnson versus Grants, and because I think it is a reaction in some parts to a failure of what the Ninth Circuit did previously, which has resulted, within its jurisdiction, really a rapid increase in homelessness. That in our state, the burden is being placed on small cities to try to solve instead of being managed at a larger scale. So that's my opinion.
Jim, that was extremely well said. I'll just add, I think that we struggled during the time that the Boise decision, the Ninth Circuit's decision, was in place. I can specifically tell you that when I was running for re-election a couple of years ago, I had a coffee at a residence that was in Montemalago, and at the time we were struggling with an issue. And they literally sat at that coffee. About 20 people begged me to help them. And my response at the time was, I'm sorry, our hands are tied. We have this Boise decision from the Ninth Circuit. We really have no ability to impact or help you. And they were beside themselves. So I see the Supreme Court reverse this, and I don't intend to make this political in any way, but in effect, for once in our lives, we get local control back. We have our own police department. While we are part of the South Bay, we are not elected to represent the South Bay. We're elected to represent the residents of Palos Verdes Estates. And I believe in reading this with equal compassion for the homelessness issue, that we need to retain our local control. And for that reason, I cannot approve signing off on this.
So I'm just going to add one or two other comments. I recognize the important role that the COG can play in this issue, right? It's much more efficient to have a centralized clearinghouse, if you will, that's doing the research, identifying the resources that then each city can go to in order to address issues that they are experiencing, rather than having each city supply the resources. So I thank the COG for their work in this area, because it really is a service to cities that are dealing with homelessness issues. I do know she's supposed to be on vacation, but our Mayor Pro Tem did text me from Portugal, and she did share with me that she has reservations about this pledge as well. So, I guess the way I see it is, I feel like the pledge is asking us to say that we are good, compassionate people, and I don't need to sign a pledge to show that I'm a good, compassionate person, and I agree with you about needing to keep our local control and address what our resident needs are. So I think we're hearing a consensus. Do I have a motion on this item?
Well, there is no motion because there's no approval, right?
I just want to be very clear about my position on it. I have no problem signing off on a pledge to be compassionate. I mean, I realize it's empty, and that's a good reason not to waste your time on it. But most of the language of this, I think, is fine. I do agree that COG's doing great. There's a specific paragraph that I'm concerned about, and it's the one that speaks to the resources that our city has and the pledge on that question, and we don't have them, and I wouldn't think it's an appropriate thing for us to build them, and for that reason, that's why I'm not supporting.
So what do we do from here, City Attorney?
There's no action required. It's whether if you want to adopt the pledge, you would need to make a motion to do it. You can just decline to do that. If you want to make a statement, say we make a motion not to adopt it, you could do that, but it's not necessary.
Okay, well then, let's move on. Let's move on to new business. All right, thank you for coming. Item number 12, Malaga Lane water intrusion and subsurface investigation.
All right, I'm gonna kick this off.
Wait a minute, sorry. Do we approve the consent, all the
Oh,
consent
you know
items?
what, I forgot in the consent item to say the traffic safety meeting minutes needed a correction, that it stated that the meeting was September 24th, 2024, and in fact, it was September 4th, 2024, so,
It's a typographical error.
It's a typographical
Staff
error.
can correct that. It's not substantive.
okay, great.
Am I on a different planet? Did we have a motion to approve the consent agenda -7?
Yes, you moved. and-
All right. I'm on a different planet. Thank you.
All right, so take it away, Carrie.
Just want to make it go longer,
No,
Councilmember Kemps? Is
no,
that
no.
what you're?
But thank
do
you,
it all
but
over
thank you for the comedy.
Okay. I'm going to kick this off and then turn it over to Derek, who is serving as our, depending on the day, acting or interim Public Works Director. I put this agenda item on here to spark a conversation with the council, with the public. Unfortunately, with our technology challenges, maybe we're not getting as wide of an audience as we had hoped. But, you know, as the council knows, the city has been, is the Malaga Plaza area, the Malaga area, if I'm saying it incorrectly, I apologize, has been dealing with, you know, surface water runoff for quite a bit of time. On all of our investigations, you know, this is a cyclical thing. I've heard from some people that it's always there. I've heard from others that it's cyclical. Interestingly enough, we were looking at it on a Zoom today, and the Google image Street View did not have water. So at some point in time, there was not water over there. As the council knows, this is a complex issue. The city has taken enormous steps and spent significant dollars initially to do a study that we released the results of a couple weeks ago. In fact, the council approved an additional study at a tune of approximately $70,000 to $80,000 2 weeks ago, a wider scope study. The intent, as everyone knows, of that study is to tell us exactly what's going on there and then allow us to develop a plan. This plan to fix and stop the water from flowing is several years away. It's multi-million dollars, it's several years away. We need to develop the engineer design and the funding. So that's all old news. What I wanted to share was about, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? A sinkhole opened up on Malaga Lane. Initially, we were optimistic that it was an isolated incident, and we brought out somebody to do a subsurface radar study. I'm stealing all of your thunder. To tell us how we can fill that void to stabilize. That Malaga Lane has been closed since that time, impacting about 8 garages. We have subsequently found out that there are more areas of concern in there.
Wait, I thought the sinkhole was on the road that connects, that goes between the road that the post office is on and the
If the
road you
home-
exit on. Are you saying it's actually by where the garage is? Did I miss it when I went and looked?
Yes. I don't know if you missed it, but it's by the Malaga Lane, by the garages.
Oh, I saw a hole like this, and I'm like, what's the big deal?
It's a hole like this.
All right,
It's got a board
I missed
over it right
Okay,
now.
thank you.
So there's more areas of concern. So we believe that our initial plan, which was to, using my spending authority, to fill it, and I can let Derek talk about that part, was where we were going. Now with these other areas of concern, we need to expand that filling, and we are out actively trying to get quotes for that. Go ahead.
How do we know that we're not going to fill and then fill some more and then keep filling some more and then keep
We don't.
filling some more?
We don't.
Okay.
We suspect that that cost is going to be above my spending authority. When that cost comes in, we'll figure out a way to get it paid. That's all I'll say at this point. I don't want to commit to anything. So I'm going to ask Derek to talk a little bit more about that. Maybe Councilmember Kemp's question, if you can attempt to answer that, better than my we don't. And then talk a little bit about some concepts that we're kicking around in between that, filling those voids and the long, big project that I talked about. So you're up, Derek.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As City Manager mentioned, I'm Derek Weiss, the Interim Public Works Director, and this issue is relatively new to me as well. I've been here for about 4 weeks now and understand that this is a problem that goes back a number of years, but I kind of prepared my remarks with regard to just focusing on the sinkhole issue. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just read this and then talk a little bit about the bigger issue. But we don't have Geosyntec here tonight, who's really the engineering experts on that topic. So earlier this month, a sinkhole developed on the Malaga Lane alley between Via Corta and Via Chico, and based on staff's observation of the size of the hole, staff closed off a portion of the alley to vehicular access. Since that time, staff has retained Geosyntec to conduct a ground-penetrating radar survey to determine the extent of the subsurface voids. Geosyntec was hired because of their familiarity with the groundwater issues in this area. Based on the subsurface survey, Geosyntec identified 4 other areas of concern besides the original sinkhole, which also need attention. Now, the cost estimate associated with stabilizing the alley will likely be a cost beyond the city manager's authority, as the city manager had mentioned. Currently, our city engineer is soliciting prices from local contractors through like an informal bidding process to remove the asphalt, fill in any subsurface voids with like a sand slurry, and restore the asphalt. Staff is hoping to bring a recommendation to the City Council next month and to allocate funds and approve a contract to perform the necessary work, not only to fill the original sinkhole, but also address the other areas of concern. This should address the short-term goal of stabilizing the alley until a long-term solution can be implemented. So I understand you're interested in the long-term solution, and that's something, we're not really prepared to discuss in detail tonight, but the general concepts that were presented in the geotechnical report prepared by Geosyntec involve, one, rebuilding the subsurface drain that was installed on Malaga Lane, but it was only between Via Corta and Via Chico. It would also extend to other areas, including maybe as a result of the analysis that you just approved at your last council meeting, maybe something on this roadway here as well, and in addition, something higher, at a higher elevation. So it would be a series of subdrain systems that would involve, a very deep trench.
Perhaps we could postpone the long-term
Yeah.
solution
Yes.
discussion till Geosyntec's here, because what I'm
Yes.
hearing from you is different from what I thought I
Yes.
heard from them. So if we could
But that-
focus on the short-term issue.
That's the general concept.
Okay.
The other general concept would be, and you've discussed this before, I believe, a series of vertical extraction wells that would be pumped to bring the groundwater elevation down.
So getting back to the short-term issue at Malaga Lane, could you, since I did a bad job on my reconnaissance mission, can you help me understand kind of what the situation is? So we've got, this is Malaga Lane, the other side of Via Chico, and let's say we've got a stretch like this, and you've got a sinkhole that's relatively speaking this big, that's this big, and the voids, are they all in a row? I mean, what does this look like? Help give us a visual picture, because part of what I'm wondering is, do we need to just gut the road and redo it? But it'd just be helpful for me to scope what the issue is.
Yeah, the report did not recommend gutting the road and rebuilding it all. It just recommended filling in the areas of concern. There are voids underneath the asphalt, only one of which has sort of manifested itself to a point where you can see it. As to your earlier point, the hole was not that large, but underneath what we found was a hole that's about 4 by 4 by maybe 3 feet deep.
So it's like an iceberg. Okay.
So the report was sent from Geosyntec to the Public Works staff?
A draft of the report. It's still in draft form, so it's not ready for public consumption. And
Okay, but when that's available, that will be posted to the website?
when it's
or
finalized, it could be, yes, yes.
or under this agenda item? Or how are those that are concerned in the public going to be able to review and see the report that you received that we ultimately decide on?
Well, coincidentally, today, Carrie called one of the members of the committee that's kind of representing the homeowners and the property owners that have been discussing this issue for a number of years, and we wanted to set up a meeting to go over the findings with them and probably have Geosyntec at that meeting.
Let me clarify that statement. As council knows, I don't think he was an official working group. A year ago and over the winter, the former public works director and the former city manager were meeting regularly, I think weekly, with property owners from the area.
Yes.
That group was 20, 25 people at times, and I actually met with them for the last time when the former public works director, it was her last day. And I asked that group, I said, sending me 25 emails, I can't keep up. I said, so please, can you shrink your group, get a little bit more organized? And they have. They're down to, I think, six people. They're calling themselves a steering committee. I've offered to meet with them with Derek when we can. Spoke to one of them yesterday and called them back today. To answer your question about when we will bring, this is all sort of quick breaking news. This is all kind of coming at us. We will bring that. When we bring a recommendation for the short-term plan, we will share what we're seeing. Because it's a draft document, I'm not comfortable sharing that with residents unless the council has seen it. I don't think that's appropriate. Don't want to trigger public records requests, so it's a draft document right now.
I understand.
But we will get that to you in an appropriate fashion. You have to understand, the public has to understand, communicating with the council has to be done in a formal meeting, formal way, so that's why I put this on the agenda. Didn't think we were going to be talking about the level of this. We are also, as Derek alluded to, we are looking at some, what I like to call medium-term plans, not the long-term plan, and that's ways to sort of lower the water table and/or put in some drains. Is that the word I want?
Well, extraction wells that would...
Well, yeah, or
the subdrains?
Yeah, subdrains that could, and this is a key part, legally discharge the water.
I understand.
And so we're looking at sort of both solutions. There was testing of the water going on. We know what the water quality is. We know where we can discharge that water and where we can't. So we have to, staff is sort of balancing all of this and trying to figure out what's the cost benefit of discharging it this way and treating it versus the cost benefit of, believe it or not, trucking it to another location and sending it out. We have to balance that. We have to balance that versus activating our wells and the cost of that versus the cost of putting drains in the street. So this is all coming at us real quick. So that's the whole point of bringing this to you. I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. That's all. There's no action.
I understand. How immediate do you anticipate the city's ability to, I'll just use the simple words, repair the road? How quickly could that be done?
Well, as I mentioned, we would like to bring a recommendation to the council next month to, allocate the funds, because it's not in the capital improvement program, and award a contract based on an informal bid process.
So when you say next month, right, our next meeting is October 8th, and that needs to be done by the stuff needs to be figured out by Wednesday. So are you talking that? Are you talking about the October meeting after that? Are you talking about a special meeting in between? I'm just trying to give the
Yeah.
public a sense for what the timeline might look like for those that need the road back.
Second meeting?
Yeah, I think the second meeting is more likely because
So a month
we-
away, and then
Yeah.
once you do that, how long do you think the repair would be?
it won't take long, just a couple days of field work.
Okay.
Sometimes the bidding process takes longer than the actual construction work.
Not sometimes.
Are you done with your questions, Michael?
Yes, thanks.
I have a question. Do we know what's causing this? And I bring it up for two reasons. One, because it's an obvious question, but the other is, we got an email from a resident who talked about SoCal Ed pumping water from one of their vaults, and that water was running right by where the sinkhole was and all of that. Is there a possibility that the pumping of water from underground vaults from the utilities are contributing to the erosion?
I would say, as I sit here today, we don't know the exact cause, but I would say that's probably not one of the likely causes.
Okay. Okay. Anything from you?
What are the likely causes of a sinkhole like this?
Well, one possible cause would be that the subsurface drain that was installed a number of years ago is still carrying water, and it's carrying with it occasionally some soils that create cavities as the soil goes into the subdrain because it failed, perhaps. I would be speculating.
I thought the subsurface drain was on the other side of Via Chico.
No, there's a subsurface, I was told there was a subsurface drain installed on the Malaga Lane.
Oh, so we're talking Malaga Lane between Chico and Corta.
Yes.
Correct.
I thought we did ground penetrating radar of that like 3 months ago. What did we do the first time we did ground penetrating radar?
That was via...
Was that just Via Chico?
No, via Campesita and one other street. I don't
I don't know why we
remember
would
the
have
other
done Via
report.
Campesina. Wow.
Via Chico and Via Campesina.
Okay.
Correct, cross sections
Yeah,
conducted by geosyntax.
that's right. Thank you.
All right. So is that the only other likely cause?
There could be other causes. That's a likely cause.
Anything else, Jim?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I don't have any cards for public comment. Is there anybody from the public that wants to comment on this agenda item? And if you could please state your name.
Sure. My name is Tom Schmidt. I live at 2545 Via Campesina.
Could you please spell that, just because we want to have
Sure.
it for the minutes?
SCHMIDT.
Thank you.
And I am an attorney, an environmental attorney, and I am also a geologist. My practice involves moving a lot of water around Southern California and Northern California. The city council needs to appreciate that this could be a very serious situation that we're facing here. The reason that subdrain was installed in the first place, excuse me, I have a cold, was because of a sinkhole that developed behind the plaza. And while we appreciate what the city council is doing with geosyntax, as the Honorable Mayor's email in response to Sylvia's email today said, this is going to be a public-private partnership. That subdrain was a public-private partnership that was partially paid for by the private sector. We believe that subdrain needs to be investigated to find out whether it has integrity and whether it can be fixed immediately. Okay, that's something we can get contractors out there. It's going to be a lot less expensive than your medium-term fix and a lot less expensive than your long-term fixes. My understanding is that subdrain moves 675,000 gallons of water a day when it was functional. That would have a major impact on the intrusion of all the structures along the lane there. There are actually two problems. We have the sinkhole, and on the other side of Malaga, we have the surface water runoff. There's water that's running down through the aquifer from the top of this hill, and it goes into the subsurface. And with respect to my building, we have a French drain around the the front of the building, and it's not properly working, but it is working to some degree. We're not pumping water, it's just passively going through our building and through our garage, and then down the alley. And we've had, I believe, 9 instances of slip and fall over the last winter. Most of them caught on video, okay? They're pretty serious. Now, the subdrain could be a major problem. The fix on the other side of the alley is a very engineerable solution. You need to take that water that's on the surface and put a pipe, put a drain right where it's coming out of the French drain in the alley, put a pipe down the alleyway, down to the storm drain via Tijon, and the problem is solved. And it would really relieve the liability of the city for any of these slip and falls that have already occurred and potentially are going to occur in the future when the weather turns bad again. We, the stakeholders and the steering committee, we've got 3 members here, we want to work with the city. But if the city is thinking that this is going to be a public-private partnership, we need to be at the table. And we're prepared to do that. And I'm prepared to lend my expertise to the process. But this is, I think, a more serious position and situation than is being thought of by you folks and your consultants. I know Geosyntec, they're a decent firm, but you know, we need a short-term solution, and we believe, the steering committee believes very, very forcefully that we need to try and investigate and get that storm drain open as soon as possible. On the other side of the cove, on the other side of the alley, the fix is a matter of just straight engineering. You take the water from the subsurface, from the surface, and you put a pipe, you put a storm drain in, the water runs in the storm drain, goes down the pipe into the storm drain at the bottom of the hill.
Thank you. Your time's up. I do have a question for you, though. If that solution is doable, why hasn't it been done?
So there has been a demand letter sent from the adjoining property to my HOA, and we are entering into negotiations with that property owner. We believe the city needs to be at the table, and we need to believe that solution also needs to be a private-public partnership. And we're willing to engage with the city. I would love to have a meeting with Carrie and Trevor and the attorney for the adjoining property owner to try and work out the details and get this done. Because my concern is that the surface water that's coming out of the French drain is hitting some very, very eroded asphalt and could be producing the same situation on our side of the alley as we have with the sinkhole on the other side. And sinkholes are not to be messed with. I mean, you know, it's right next to the prized piece of commercial real estate we have in the city.
Yeah. Question maybe for all of you, maybe don't go anywhere. Well, let's start with staff. Throughout hearing the Geosyntec reports, sort of before they became public and after, and speaking with the prior city manager, I remember having conversations about, and pardon me if I bastardize this because it's not even close to my expertise, water board requiring permits for putting water into drains. How does that relate to what we're talking about here on these 2 locations?
Not my expertise either, but it does relate. Okay.
It's my expertise. So if you want to discharge water in California from surface or anything that you pump, you need a permit.
Okay.
And you need to understand the chemistry of that water.
Right.
And you need to meet standards for discharge. And it's a very complicated case. It's not an easy permit to get. There are exemptions. But the bottom line is you cannot exceed the discharge requirements set by the state for any water source you're attempting to move from the subsurface to any other location.
So to save you 3 minutes from repeating all of the previous statements again, is it likely that permit is, and I'm not going to hold you to this, I'm just curious about educating and understanding, is it likely that permit is going to be required to do any